So, hello everybody, welcome back to another episode of mental health series. And today I'm really happy to have Jasdeep over here. So, Jasdeep is a neuropsychologist. So, thank you very much for being here. It's a pleasure to have you.
Thank you so much for having me here. It's really great to see young people doing this kind of work, especially raising awareness around mental health. It's really the need of the hour and will remain to be that because we are in a very uncertain time and it's going to remain uncertain for some time. So I'm glad
Of
that you're
course. Yeah.
talking about it and I'm very happy to be here.
My pleasure, Jasdeep. And again, thank you very much for being here. Before beginning, if you could introduce yourself and tell about yourself and what you do, that would be wonderful.
Sure. So, like you said, I'm Jasdeep Mago. I am a neuropsychologist. I'm also the founder of a mental health organization called Invisible Illness India. We've been in full form since 3 years. We started off actually in a very sad, sort of tragic manner because a friend of ours gave up his life, fighting his depression, and the ripple effect of what happened and what we saw in our friend circle is something that really urged us to start something. It made us feel like we need to raise the right kind of awareness around mental illness, because the way people spoke about him and the way it impacted everybody really moved us, and it made us feel that this is really something that we need to do, at least in our immediate environment, if not otherwise.
Of course.
um, and therefore we started Invisible Illness. Currently we work in the space of providing well-being services to corporates, because we do have a very young working population that suffers through a lot of issues. So our target is to better the workspaces in India, through our workshops, training sessions, through one-on-one counseling. And yeah, that's what we've been focusing on. And of course, we raise awareness on the side, doing everything that we can do for it. And yeah, that's it.
Okay. And yeah, thank you again. Thank you very much for doing this wonderful work for the community. It's wonderful to hear all these good things you do. Of course. And then how would you, like, before coming to starting today's session, how would you define mental health? What do you think is mental health according to you in your own words? What would you define it as?
For me, mental health is the core aspect of anybody's well-being.
Okay.
It's sort of like, when people describe health and don't include mental health, that seems sort of weird to me, because your mental health really controls everything else. If I'm not feeling well, if I'm not feeling good, if I'm not feeling motivated, I'm not going to be able to go to work or be able to work out or be able to look good. Only if I'm feeling motivated here, I'm able to do those things. And motivation is a
Of
part of your
course.
mental health. So for me, mental health is really the core of well-being in general. So if I'm well here, I am going to be able to make myself be well otherwise, like physically, aesthetically, in terms of success and all of those things. You're only going to be able to propel yourself to get there if you are first and foremost, I would not use the word happy, but I would use the word well here, like in your mind.
Okay, great. And in today's topic, we thought of speaking about essential of mental well-being. What does that mean? With the core, of course, it's very easy for people who are experts in these subjects. For common people like me or anybody watching this, it's really hard for them to understand. So how would you define this topic, and what would we be speaking about in the conversation coming forward? Yeah.
So, to very simply explain first, the difference between a mental illness and mental health is really important. So, mental health is our ability to think, to act, to react, to respond, our ability to analyze, understand information, to provide, to have an evaluation, a judgment on information. We've got to grasp information. That is all the ability of, that is what mental health is. It
Okay.
is the, to have emotions, all of those things. A mental illness is any kind of dysregulation or irregularity in those activities. If I'm not able to think, react, and respond appropriately to the given circumstance, that then that then qualifies into the space of a dysregulation in your mental well-being. So
Okay.
just that's simple sort of distinction. Mental health is something we all have. We all have the ability to think and have emotions and all of those things, but we don't all have mental illness. Mental illness is only when there's that, you've tipped over that sort of edge that makes that creates a dysregulation or imbalance in all of those activities. So when we talk about essentials of mental well-being, we are also talking about how everyone can apply this. This is not only for people who have, say, depression, anxiety, bipolar disorder. No, this is a topic that works for everybody. This is information that can help anyone who, from the age of 6 years to the age of 60 years, which is why it's really important to know what is essential to keep ourselves going. So
Yeah.
it's almost like a preventive action we can be taking
Okay.
towards helping ourselves be better and
Mhm.
remain better, remain good, remain well, remain healthy. So that's what we're going to be discussing in this
Okay.
podcast.
Okay. Okay. So first question: what is mental essentials? What are the kind of essential things for mental well-being?
So, a really good way to understand this is to first think about this as, um, why don't we do this with you? So, Lakshit, tell me, what is the difference between your lifestyle versus the lifestyle of your grandparents?
The way they think, maybe.
Okay, but a lifestyle thing, like how do they conduct their day? What do they eat? How do they, as in just in general, if you've observed grandparents ever,
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
what is the
Uh,
difference between their everyday routine?
of course, how they do things, how they wake up, how they eat, how they live, what they like to watch, what they don't watch, what the things they use. Of course, yeah, yeah, everything, maybe everything, I would say.
Big difference, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So now tell me, whose lifestyle do you think is better according to you?
Maybe I think not mine or not them. Everything, like it's how you feel. Maybe it's your life, so you feel it's what I'm all doing is right. It's my lifestyle. I feel everything what I'm doing is right. So I think it's both of them are good at their place or right at their place.
Okay, and what is the stark difference between the two lifestyles?
Um, Again, the way I would think, the way they think, that's what makes me to understand the way they think and way they speak, maybe.
Okay, okay. So generally, a very stark difference most people can notice between their lifestyle, like say our generation, millennials, and so forth, uh, um, and the lifestyle of our grandparents, or even for some of us, our parents, is that they have more structure, more routine, versus we are sort of, in the go and the flow kind of generation. We're just like, today if I don't have to wake up for work, I'll sleep till 1 o'clock. Versus they're
Yeah.
like, irrespective if I have to get to work or not, I will still wake up at my particular time, still do
Yes.
my
Yeah.
particular routine, right?
Yeah.
That's a very clear distinction we can see between our lifestyle versus their lifestyle.
Hmm.
So, a lot of people tell me that, do you, like, they'll always ask me that, do you think that our grandparents generation was more resilient, or do you think that they just didn't know what mental illnesses were? So I said it's a bit of both, but I do think that they're a little more resilient simply because of their lifestyle they led.
Okay.
They, the fact that they had a fixed routine, irrespective of life happening or not, they would still wake up, have their breakfast, do their workout, do their prayers, do their religious activity, go to work, come back again, and like food was at a particular time, sleep
Yeah.
and wake cycle was in rhythm.
Yes.
They always had some form of physical activity involved, even if it was walking to work. For them at that point, it's still physical activity. And apart from that, they all had an extra magical element, whether you want to call that religion, you want to call that spirituality, you want to call that anything. I call that a supply of hope. That's what I call it. That's how I look at it. It's called a supply of hope.
Hope. Okay.
So for me, and this is how I this is when we deal with clients over time who have mild to moderate or even severe clients who have mental illnesses, and even those who don't. What we really notice is that what is the difference between
Hmm.
people who are well and people who are not. And people
Okay.
who are well generally have a way of conducting their everyday life. not one day of their life, but every
Yes.
day.
Day of life. Yeah.
So
True.
yeah, so now you can sort of reflect and see that what is the difference between your lifestyle and your
Hmm.
grandparents or parents lifestyle.
Yeah.
And so what does that do? Why is a routine so important? And I'm obviously going to tell you about that. But so a routine is so important because that rhythm of sleep wake is actually the natural rhythm of your body.
Yeah.
And when we disrupt it, we disrupt everything within our body, including our emotions, including our brain chemicals.
Okay.
um, and that is really very, very, very essential. So having a stable sleep wake cycle, and here obviously I'm not implying that everyone should have a military lifestyle
Mhm.
where it's like 7 a.m wake up and 10 p.m sleep. No, not at all. It's just about maintaining stability. It's just about maintaining a rhythm.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
know that I'm not somebody who can wake up very early, so I'm like, okay, 10 o'clock is fine for me,
Hmm.
because I am somebody who sleeps late. But I try to maintain the fact that I'm sleeping and waking approximately around the same time,
Okay.
because it's maintaining a rhythm in my body, and that rhythm is controlling my hormones, it's controlling my thyroid gland, it's controlling my neurochemicals. And that is so important for well-being. Stress affects you a lot more if you've not slept well. Stress affects you a lot more if you've not eaten your food correctly, or if you've eaten food that doesn't suit you. You feel a lot more exhausted a lot more quickly if you
Hmm.
have not maintained your physical body first. So the mind and body connect is very important, extremely important. So if my mind is controlling my body, my body is also controlling my mind. It works both ways. And that is one of the basic things. Like, the first thing we tell people who come into therapy sessions is that, hey, you know what, let's get your daily routine into order so
Hmm.
that we can move ahead to the more bigger, deep rooted concerns. But first, let's get your daily routine into order, because if I can't maintain that,
Hmm.
there's very little I can do about anything else.
True. Yeah. 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 Okay. Okay. And what kind of tips would you like to give to people? With regards to these things.
So, one thing that I would definitely like to tell people is that first develop a routine that suits you. Don't try to pick up someone else's routine. So it's
Yeah.
not like, we all read these books. There's now a book called the 5 a.m club or
Yes.
something like that, and we are all reading this book and we are like, we are going to be this person. But are you really this person?
Person.
Are you really the person
Of course.
who's
Yes.
going to make so it's really about figuring out, does this suit me? Like you said, exactly what you said, it suits them versus it suits me,
Me.
just like you said with your grandparents. And that's what it is. Really, don't pick up on someone else's routine and make it your own. It's really about developing it yourself by actually observing what works for you and what doesn't work for you. And this goes with food as well. A lot of people are right now jumping on the bandwagon of, let's do a keto diet. A keto diet does not suit everybody. Or let's do
Yeah.
intermittent fasting. That does not suit everybody. So
True.
please pick something that's a perfect fit for you, and you are only going to know that through trial and error. So please do that. um, and develop that routine uh, to at least a rough structure initially. Don't be too strict with yourself. Be kind to yourself, that I'm giving myself a 2 hour window, that between 10 and 12 I will sleep, and between 8 and 10 I will wake up, so that I'm giving myself a rough window to have to some leeway, some, because it's difficult to get into a pattern. And we are allowed to have some mistakes, we are allowed to we are allowed to falter here and there. So give yourself room for error. And the other thing that I'd like to really focus on is, and maybe you can also throw some light on this for us, is how do you think exercise impacts us? Like, do you think exercise is important according to you?
I believe more than like I have been on a diet for 6 months. I'm already going on, and more changes I've seen on my body by eating, changing my eating habits more than exercise. So I think exercise has very less to do on your body than your food. That's what I believe.
Okay, I think that's a great thing that you said, because that is true also. And what do you think? What is the impact of exercise on your mind for you?
It's good. It's wonderful. Sometimes it makes you energetic, but sometimes it also makes you very feel bad. It goes guzzy, and your mind behaves really weird sometimes. So it's a mixed thing. You cannot
Okay,
tell one as per my
but
thing.
but do you feel uplifted when you work out, like after you've done some physical activity, little bit,
Yes.
or do you? Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, of course, everyone knows the phenomenon that exercise releases endorphins. Endorphins is the happy hormone of our body,
Yeah.
and it really helps to remain in a more uplifted state of mind. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying it's going to make you happy and it's going to change your life, because it's not. Like you said, it's barely changing your body. It's what you're eating is changing your body, as opposed to the exercise, really. But the exercise is really helping you change here.
Your mind.
It's
Yeah.
helping you uplift the state you're in. So a
Mhm.
lot of people, and I don't know if you've heard this, but a lot of people tell me that when they feel anxious, they go for a walk, and it really helps them. It helps them release that anxious energy and bring in the endorphins. So
Okay.
exercise is another thing that, and when I say exercise, please don't get me wrong, I don't mean going to the gym. I don't mean doing some HIIT class and lifting some heavy weights. No, what I mean is having physical activity, whether that's even a 15-minute walk in the day. It is about maintaining physical activity, so that that release of endorphins doesn't just stop at some
Mhm.
point, it continues.
Yeah.
And that's another essential. It is an essential of well-being. A lot of people will discount this and say that exercise is overrated. It's really not. It
Not.
is an essential for mental well-being. And I think lastly, another tip that I would like to give in terms of mental well-being is, like I spoke about, the supply of hope. um, and I really love asking this question. So and because I feel like it really helps people understand themselves also better, is that, do you have a supply of hope in your life,
Yes, of course.
and how do you attain that supply of hope?
Attain in what sense?
So what helps you feel hopeful every day?
um Maybe having faith, I think. Like, not of course not the religious thing or anything, but having faith in something. Let it be anything, so I think having faith is what makes me hopeful. Yeah.
That's so amazing, because at definitely it goes a really long way, especially if you're much younger and you develop sense of faith. And faith is really everything, whether that faith is in you.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like, I have faith in myself that I'll get it done. I have that faith in myself. That is a supply of hope then for you every day. A
Yeah,
lot
true.
of people have this faith externally, which is not a bad thing at all. It is either religion, spirituality. For some people, it's their work. Their work really drives them to make that change, to bring about that um, you know change in society, and that
Hmm.
passion, it
Hmm.
really gives them a sense of hope that they're
Yeah.
making and changing something. um, and for a lot of people, it comes from meditation, from mindfulness, from
Yeah.
spirituality, from chanting, from a religious activity, from prayer, because we are attaining a supply of hope by telling ourselves that, what, whatever it is you're going through, it's going to get better. Because we need that as human beings, to feel that all the time.
Hmm.
If we don't feel that, it leads to catastrophic results, like feeling depressed or feeling anxious about the future, or it leads to even feeling suicidal, because you don't feel hopeful about your life.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
having that supply of hope is so important. It is important to tell ourselves and to be able to reinstill that in ourselves, that, what, it's tough now, but it's going to get better. So
Better.
hold
Yeah.
on tight.
Yeah. 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 Okay, it's true. Wonderful. And how you like normally, how do you tell your clients to make schedule? We had you did give a kind of this that make schedule, and what's comfortable for you. But how do you try to inculcate and make those kind of schedules which, and how, if everybody can't seek a, what do you say, a professional help, but how can they do it by themselves and create a schedule for them? How can they understand that what's right and what's wrong for them?
uh, I think that's really important. That this question that you've asked. Yes. Um, how do you know what's good for you? How do you know that? We don't really know that until we try it. Okay,
Yeah.
firstly, but we do know what we like. We do know what helps us feel good, and if we don't, we can again try and test that. But the first thing I would suggest is sort of put down in terms of priority what you need to do every day as
Okay.
a priority. So obviously food and sleep is one of the first two things that will be there. So you remove time for that separately, because food and sleep is a priority. The third, like, then you can decide, is work a bigger priority or is my physical activity a bigger priority? Is spending time with myself a priority? Is self-care a priority? Is reading a priority? These kind of things, and it's different for everybody. For me, my spiritual activity is a huge priority in my life. So I know that that's like, even before work I have to put my spiritual activity, because I know how much it enriches me. But that's something I figured out for myself. It took a lot of time, a lot of trial and error, but I eventually got to that point.
Hmm.
So really put down all the activities that you think you need to do every day.
Okay.
Then look at it rationally and think, can I do so many things in a day every day? And then try and sift through. Because a lot of people will put like at least 30, 40 activities. And I'm just like, can you really do all of this every day?
Yeah.
Is that a rational thought, or are you a superhuman? Uh,
Yeah.
so, also to get that perspective, and then you put it down in terms of priority. Which one do I think is more important than the other? Which one is more important for my well-being than anything else, than the other activities? And once you've done that, the last step is figuring out when in your day should you be doing it. So it's about asking yourself that, do I have more motivation in the morning to work out, or do I have more motivation in the
In the
evening to
evening.
work out? Am I more comfortable staying up late and sleeping more in the morning, or am I more comfortable sleeping early and waking up early?
Yeah.
These are things you have to figure out for yourself, and that's when you can place them in your day. I know for me, I have zero motivation to work out in the morning. I just can't do it. I'm just not that person. So I know that I'll keep that for the evening, and it's my fun activity also in the evening.
Hmm.
I know that if I don't start my day with my spiritual activity, I will not be able to feel good. So I make sure that that's the first thing I do when I wake up. So these are small things that, again, through trial and error, I learned about myself, because I allowed myself to learn that about myself. I realized that these are my priorities. This is the timing my priorities work at. Because, some of us just can't do some things in the morning, and some of us can't do some things in the evening.
Evening.
So
Yeah.
figure that out for yourself. Don't pick up someone else's routine and say, I'm going to do this.
Yeah.
That is just not going to work. You are a different human and you're a unique human. So please create a unique schedule for yourself.
Yeah. 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 And as we were speaking about scheduling, also, you just we were speaking about differences our grandparents and a grandparents, a parents, and our generation have. But there are some, like, let me take my example. We My father has been following his parents, his fathers and mothers and everything's routine, and we follow them. And we, like, I can't sleep more than a particular time. At 6 or 7, I'm up. That's a schedule, and I'm up. There's nothing as such. So is that right? Like, how do you define that right for body? Or do you think it's just it's not right, and you should identify yourself and all those things? How do you see this?
I think the best person to answer this is you. Do you feel right? Does this feel good for you? Do you feel like you
Okay.
need a little more sleep? Do you feel like it's restricting you? Or do you feel like it's liberating you? So I think the only person to answer that is you. What I would add here is, ensure you're getting enough sleep. Enough sleep in the sense, 6 is a minimum. 6 hours is a minimum any
Yeah.
human being needs to function mentally well. So if I'm not getting enough, if I'm not getting at least minimum 6 hours of sleep, I know that I'm not going to be able to focus and concentrate at work. And maybe I'll do it on 3 days, but on all 7 days, I will not be able to do it. So that's another thing. Just that's one thing that I would just tell people, that ensure that you're getting enough sleep. And 6 is a minimum hours. Like, it's literally bare minimum. I would go ahead and say 8 should be a requirement. But I know that a lot of people don't have the time to have 8 hours of sleep, which is why 6 is just bare minimum that you must get. So please ask yourself, am I getting 6 hours of sleep? And is
Uh-huh.
that enough for me? Or do I need to add another hour? And that's how you can move with that and go with the flow of that then.
Okay. And then how do you like today, this time, everything is weird for everyone. It's not for me, not for you, it's for everyone. And everybody's feeling some other thing. Of course, we have to get back in our lives, because we can't just stopping ourselves for whole if it's there for 10 years, you can't just go and stay at home for 10 years. Of course, that's impossible. But how what kind of things you think you have learned, and of course, as you would have also moved online nowadays because of these things. So what do you hear from your clients when you speak with them? What they say about how they're feeling? Yeah, of course there's some confidentiality, but in a bigger picture, if you can say how they feel, and what kind of responses do you get more and more nowadays from people, and how could you what kind of tips or strategies would you like to give to people that they can use, that they don't feel such bad or weird and all those things?
Okay. So I think initially everyone was very shaken up by the pandemic, the global crisis, the lockdown, the restrictions. It made everyone feel stuck and feel scared, because we did not know what was going to happen. We did not know how long this was going to last. So initially, my clients plus my family and friends, everyone including myself, we were all very shaken up. Lots of anxiety, lots of uncertainty, lots of stress, and did not know how to conduct our day. I think now that we are 6 or 7 months down the line since the point we started, everyone has this is a beautiful thing about humans. We adapt so quickly.
Yeah.
And I think I have never noticed this more in my life than now. How quickly my friends and family adapted to being in the house and making the most of that. How quickly my clients adapted to me being across a screen and being able to only speak to them like this and not have that personal touch. How quickly I adapted to conducting everything online. It's not easy. It's not easy to be in a profession of emotions and be behind a screen. It's restrictive, but I think it was so nice to see that everybody around us was able to adapt. And yes, we faced difficulty, yes, we faced anxiety, yes, we faced stress, no doubt, but we still got into a point where we've adapted. And I think that is the biggest lesson to learn from ourselves as human beings here, is that we are resilient, so resilient, and we are so adaptive that we can make it through to anything. And this is precisely what now my clients tell me. They tell me that I learned so much about myself during this time. I learned so much about how I am so capable of handling a, a global crisis.
Yeah.
And I think that's a big learning every human being needs to take right now. You've survived this.
Yeah.
You have made it through. That is a victory. You need to give yourself a pat on the back and
Yeah.
do that every day, because this is not a small thing. This is the one of the worst things our planet has witnessed, and we are
Yeah.
able to survive, and some of us are even able to thrive in this environment, which is a huge victory. And I think I am learning from people around me by watching my clients, get such a beautiful perspective on this whole life experience. Is just one of the biggest things, when we can look at something really bad in our life and take all the good things out of it. I
Mm-hmm.
think we've won at life then, because
Yeah.
that is really the true victory. So I think for everybody who is not yet there, who's not yet looking at this so positively as probably I'm speaking of it, I would say look at this as your largest learning curve, in your life. Because no other situation is going to replicate this. No other scenario in your life is going to replicate you being stuck in one place and having no control. Very, very less control over life. You're never going to have this experience again. And look at it as a life experience that's going to help you grow and evolve. And that's what it's done. And now that we've passed 6 months of this period, look back at these 6 months and reflect as to what it really taught you,
Yeah.
what it really gave you.
Mhm.
Because every experience in our life, whether it's good, bad, or ugly, is here to teach us something.
Yeah.
So, what did it teach you about yourself? What did it teach you about your life?
Right.
And really reflect on that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Very, very, very true. Yes, yes. And we have never, like, nobody on this planet, let it be anyone, nobody has seen anything like such happening. And of course, it's very new learning to everybody, and everybody has learned something or other, and that's wonderful. And of course, we have adapted it and we're leaving it, and maybe we are going to leave it for some more time, and maybe we're going to be out again, so we don't know what's going to happen. And of course, last question of today's session, like, what would be your special message to anybody watching this? What any kind of message to watch people who are watching this, or any kind of message regarding to mental health you'd like to leave? You can just go ahead and leave it over here.
I think the one thing I'd like to leave everyone with as a last thought is compassion, because compassion is the need of the hour more than anything else. We're living in a world that is driven by capitalism and money, but we still can be compassionate first to ourselves
Mhm.
and then to the people around us. And compassion is something that is going to save our planet, because that is what our planet is asking for. It's asking for us to be compassionate to the environment, to each other, and to ourselves. So be kind to your mind to begin with. Be kind to the fact that I'm struggling. It's okay. I'm allowed to struggle. I'm allowed to feel scared, because it's a scary situation. I'm allowed to feel scared.
Yeah.
So be kind to yourself, be kind to the person beside you, and say that, you know what, buddy, it's fine. Like, I'm in the same boat with you and we're going to sail through it together. So don't worry. I'm here for that. And we will look out for each other, because that compassion, that looking out for each other is what's going to get us all out of here. Without that, without each other, we are nothing. So I would say start with being kind to you, and that
Yeah.
kindness will spread everywhere then. That's all
Yeah.
I'd like to say.
Yes, yes. Really, really thankful to you, Jasdeep, for being here. It's wonderful. It was wonderful having you. And thank you again. I'm really, really thankful to you for being here. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Lakshya. This was wonderful. I'm so happy.